Many years ago, I was dragged kicking and screaming into working with Odin. I cast a circle, ready to rededicate myself after a difficult coven experience, calling out to any spirit who might want to work with me. I fully assumed that I would be working with a goddess, probably a Celtic or Hellenic one at that. I was prepared for her to come forward. But instead, the Allfather came into my circle and introduced himself. He was wry, a twinkle in his eye, his wide hat pulled low and a staff in hand. I asked what he wanted to be called, and he answered, Odin. Later, I scoffed. What are the odds that the Allfather wanted to work with me? I was just a lowly witch, initiated into Wicca and looking for something else, but not sure what. In spite of wanting to find a personal goddess, I wasn't even certain I believed in deities. The very concept of a creator god seemed impossible in my scientific mind. I told myself it was probably just a mischievous spirit who was also named Odin that I was working with, because I do have experience with many mischievous sprites. I was too intimidated by the idea that this was the High One, and so I eased into the relationship, eyes wide open and skeptical. The truth of the matter is that I didn't want it to be a Norse god. I had always been bored by my mom's interest in Norwegian American culture. The lefse my grandmother made every Christmas did not taste special on my tongue. Along my path, I had run into several less-than-kind Norse pagans, and by this point, I had decided that Norse work was a red flag for me in my search for a community. Of the nasty experiences I had experienced in polytheist, polypantheon covens, the worst actors were the ones that followed the Norse gods. I didn't feel comfortable learning to read runes in my original coven, and honestly, that was for the better because I would eventually part ways with them. So it was in my own best interests to convince myself that this wasn't the Odin. It was merely a spirit that called themselves Odin. This was not a mechanism of disbelief. It was a method of protecting my sense of safety within faith. The first thing that helped me warm up to the Norse gods was the grand mythology. I was surprised by how fresh the prose and poetic Edda felt. It was easy to submerge myself in the stories of Loki, Thor, Odin, and Freya, to feel these personalities come off the page. The drama of Ragnarok piqued my interest. I could personally relate to it as a sort of prophecy of impending climate catastrophe.